Hi everyone, and welcome to another installment of the Cook's Companion Recipe of the Week. I'm Nadine Hughes, and thanks for joining me again. This week we're going to talk about crepes. Now, I've given you in the past a recipe for crepes with the cauliflower sauce, and I'm going to give that to you again today. But the number one sort of feedback I keep getting from people is, love the recipe, but I'm afraid of making crepes. Put it aside, easiest thing to do and a great recipe to have in your repertoire, because all it is flour, milk, eggs, and a bit of butter, some salt, and you have got a great meal. As a matter of fact, you can have a breakfast, a lunch, a dinner, a dessert. That's why I love crepes. You can make them savory, you can make them sweet, you can add whatever you want, and they're fantastic. And they freeze really well as well. So great recipe to have. So I'm going to show you today how to really make those crepes, okay? And then I'll give you the recipe for the cauliflower sauce as well to show you how you can plate it up a little bit differently. So let's get started. I'm going to start heating my pan while I talk to you about what I've made the crepe batter. Now, what I like about this is it's really simple and easy to do, and you put it in a blender, you can put it in a food processor, or you can just whip it with a whisk as well. What I have in my blender is I have 2 lightly beaten eggs, I have 1 cup of flour, just regular plain flour, half a cup of milk, you can use 1%, 2%, whole milk, skim, whatever you want, and half a cup of water, 2 tablespoons of melted butter, and about 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Okay, so that's just a plain savory batter. I could add a little bit of sugar to this to make this sweet. I could add some green onions, I could add parsley, I could add whatever I wanted, chives, but right now I'm just using a plain batter. I've put all the ingredients into the blender, whirled it up for about 10-15 seconds, scraped down all the flour on the outside, whirled it again for 10 seconds, and I put it in the fridge to rest for about an hour. Now that's important that you want your crepe batter to rest for an hour, because you want a lot of the bubbles to go away, to dissipate, and put them away. There's your word for the day, dissipate. So why you want the bubbles to go away is the less bubbles you have, the better chance that you have of a crepe not breaking, because those bubbles are air, they're thin, and they'll break in the pan anyways. So do it, let it sit for at least an hour. You can let it sit for 24 hours, 36 hours in the fridge as well. So that's what I've got in here in my blender. You don't need a fancy crepe pan. You can get one of those. I've seen them where you push them over on top and they take a little swirl, and it's all on top and you peel them off. All you really need is a good non-stick, sort of shallow pan, okay? Don't use a cast iron pan, don't use anything like that. What you want is a non-stick pan, all right? Because they're not in here for a long time, like 30 seconds, 45 seconds. I'm going to heat up my pan sort of on medium-high heat. Now I'm going to warn you, the first crepe that you do, and it'll probably happen for me as well, is usually a throwaway. It's like the crepe gods telling you, we're better than you, okay? But that's the way it is. So I'm going to melt a little bit of butter in the pan. Now I could use, I could use a vegetable oil or whatever, but I do like to use a little bit of butter in this one. So I'm going to melt them up. I'm going to take it'll probably end up being only about 2 or 3 tablespoons, and I'm going to swirl that around, okay? And this is the first one that is going to be ugly and icky. Always happens that way. Takes about, I'd say, maybe 20 seconds roughly, depending upon how hot your pan is. You might be able to see how the edges are starting to set already. It's not a very pretty crepe, I told you that already. But I'm going to use this silicone spatula, and I can actually almost even just pick it out of the pan, turn it over, okay, for about 10 seconds, just to get the other side brown. This is going to be my little snack crepe, okay? It's not going to be the one I want to serve to company. Serve it to family, of course, but not to company. All right, and flip it out. If I flipped it out properly, you would have seen that it's a nice little crepe. All right, I want to get the other one going. I'm not going to add any butter on this one. I'll add it on the third one, okay? So again, a couple of tablespoons. Swirl it around, and the more you swirl it, obviously the thinner your crepe is going to be. All right, you see that? It's not going to take long. I'm going to use my silicone spatula again. You can use just a regular spatula. I probably wouldn't be using a metal one though, because you are dealing with a non-stick pan. And I can actually already start, you can see, just to lift the edge, and I can even take a peek and see, is it getting brown? And look how easy it is to flip it over. Now, look how much prettier, more uniform that second one is than the first one. I don't know, it's just something about the first one that never turns out. So while that's in there for about 10 seconds to brown up the other side, I always take parchment paper, or you could use wax paper, and cut a few pieces, and I lay it on top of my cooled crepe here, okay? And I'm going to put my other one right on top. And that's going to help it not to stick together, because I'm going to make these in advance and I'm going to serve them for dinner tonight. As I said, I could also freeze them. I would lay them stack on stack, you know, with the parchment paper in between, and then put them in, you know, a Ziploc bag, or cover them tightly with saran wrap and put them in the freezer, and they'll last for a couple of months in your freezer. So I've added a little bit more butter, as I said I was going to on that third one. You'll know sort of how good your pan is, right? But usually about every, I would say every second crepe you want to add a little bit of butter. All right, and while that guy is going, I'm going to show you. So it's pliable, it's easy. I'm going to be able to roll them up. Now my kids love these as snacks after school, and I make them, maybe I put a little bit of sugar into the batter, maybe about a tablespoon, 2 tablespoons into the batter, and then I spread them with Nutella, put a little bit of chopped fruit, whatever the berries are, maybe strawberries, maybe banana, and then fold them up or roll them up, and they have that and they love it. It's great. So, you know, really simple and easy dessert as well. So you can use crepes, as I said, for breakfast. You could use that with Nutella and fresh fruit or anything like that. You could use them for dessert. You can do them with like a crepe Suzette. You could use Grand Marnier and oranges and butter. I mean, we're not looking at calories obviously here. You know, they'd be beautiful that way. I really like them for dinner, because as I say, I can make them ahead of time and I can put them in the freezer and then just pull them out. They defrost really, really quickly, just in the fridge in a couple of hours. And what I then do with them is I make a cauliflower sauce. So it's a really simple cauliflower sauce. I've actually made one already up for tonight. I'll give you the recipe for it. I'm not going to go through it today. But basically, it's a cheese sauce that you make with butter, flour, a little bit of chicken stock, or even the water that I've cooked the cauliflower in, all right? And whether you can use mozzarella, you can use Monterey Jack, you could use Gruyere if you wanted a sort of a smoky flavor, cheddar, anything that you wanted. So made a cheese sauce, put a little bit of nutmeg, salt, pepper, and then added cooked cauliflower little pieces to it, okay? And really great, simple, a nice non-meat meal as well. Sometimes you just sort of don't want beef or chicken or whatever one night. And as you can see, these are going pretty fast. I do take some time, probably to make my batter that I'm going to give you in the recipe will probably make about, oh, I'd say maybe 14, 15 crepes, depending upon how big you have them. And it's really simple and easy to do. And I just stand here. Sometimes I crank the tunes for half an hour, make a double or a triple batch, and then I put them in the freezer and sort of roll them up, and away we go. So it's really simple and easy to do. So remember, in your crepe batter, it's eggs, milk, water, melted butter, some salt, some pepper. As I said, you can add anything that you want to it. Really simple, easy to do. Let it rest for an hour in the fridge. Do them in the pan with a little bit of butter or vegetable oil. Lay them between parchment or wax paper. Freeze them, keep them. I'm going to put these in the fridge, and then I'm going to put them together with a cauliflower sauce, and I'll show you the final product at the end. Simple, easy to do, okay? So you can get this recipe and lots more at my website, which is www.thecookscompanion.ca. And okay, this is a perfect one. Very happy about this one. Perfect. All right, so go. Don't be afraid of crepes. Super easy to do. It's a great recipe to have in your repertoire. Thanks very much for watching, and we are going to see you next week on the Recipe of the Week. Talk to you soon.